Marry Oliver. You'll be living the good life, Melanie. Mom, he's old. The daughter pouted, grimacing at the thought. Your Dan will age too. Before you know it, his biker beard will be gray. The only difference is how you'll spend those years. In luxury with Oliver or struggling with Dan. I love Dan, and I find your Oliver revolting, Melanie shot back, her mood shifting like the wind. But her mother wasn't about to back down. Mary was accustomed to getting what she desired, and this time would be no different. She had no intention of spending her old age confined to an apartment with some working-class Dan. No matter what it took, her only daughter Melanie was going to marry Oliver, a 45-year-old businessman, philanthropist, and art collector. Mary had known her share of difficulties. At least, that's how she saw it. Growing up in a modest working-class family, she endured the harsh realities of communal living. Her parents divorced when she was just 12. Her father had left for another woman, residing in the very next apartment. Each day, Mary's mother was subjected to the sight of her estranged husband's new family, and she channeled her bitterness towards her daughter, often delivering sharp reprimands and slaps to the back of her head. Late at night, as she tried to fall asleep on a folding bed sheltered behind a screen, the young girl's only hope was to graduate and escape. Once she received her diploma, she set her sights on the city, leaving the village behind for college. Living in the dorms was a welcome relief compared to home. Back then, students were supported with stipends, clothing, and meals, which suited Mary just fine. She had no desire to rely on her parents. By then, her father had 2 more children, and each time she sought his help, her mother would retort, "Go to your dad. He has enough to support." Her father would whimper, "I can't help you, my daughter. You'll have to fend for yourself." Ultimately, Mary ceased requesting assistance from her parents and stopped visiting altogether. She realized she needed to carve her own path in the world. She took every opportunity to earn a little extra, handing out flyers, working part-time at the post office, even collecting bottles and scrap paper when necessary. Somehow, she managed to get by without parental support. She earned her diploma and landed a job at a hair salon in a women's bathhouse. From there, she progressed to a service center and eventually to a prestigious salon catering to the wives of city officials. By 1989, at just 26, she had saved enough to purchase her own apartment. Mary was in no rush to get married. Love didn't interest her. What mattered was wealth. After all, her parents married for love, and look where that led, daily struggles and her father's departure for the neighbor. She resolved that she would only marry a man of means. She had no intention of repeating her mother's fate. Mary felt she deserved the best, but it seemed no one else shared her conviction. Men noticed her beauty, but few were eager to commit. She wasn't interested in casual flings or playfulness. "Oh, Mary," her friend Sarah sighed, "stop this fixation on rich suitors. They marry women from their own class. We're just entertainment for them." "I'd rather be alone than marry a pauper," Mary shot back fiercely. It seemed she had jinxed herself. She never did marry. One day she woke up and realized she was nearly 40. Not wanting to remain alone, she decided to have a child at 39, as they say, for herself. Mary adored her daughter Melanie. She cherished and cared for her, sparing no expense to ensure her happiness. To Mary, happiness meant abundance. Money brought freedom and self-assurance. She instilled this belief in her daughter. Everything had a price, and if it didn't, it was simply a matter of not paying enough. The girl, unlike her mother, had a different perspective on life and wasn't particularly focused on wealth, which frustrated her mother immensely. And then there was Dan, someone her mother absolutely detested. "Melanie, just look at him. It's obvious he won't amount to anything. He'll be racing around on that moped, kicking up dust," her mother complained. "Why do you think he won't succeed?" Melanie challenged. "Because he has no education, no ambition. At 27, he still lives in a communal apartment with his mother. By this age, men are usually renting their own places. If he really wants to, he'll buy one, Melanie pouted defiantly. Oh, and how will he fund that? You'll be unhappy with him, darling, her mother sighed heavily, and I'll be the one suffering along with you. Are you really here, Mom? Melanie asked, surprised. Where will you run to? Back home? You're the one giving me gray hairs, you know. Mom, I'm not asking you to support me. Really? Her mother shot back as she leaped off the sofa. Who's been paying for your university education? You've still got 3 years left. Who's going to cover that? Your husband with his empty pockets? Take Oliver, for example. Mom, leave me alone about Oliver. He's 25 years older than me, and you're only 15 years younger. Maybe you should just marry him yourself. Melanie laughed as she exited the room. These conversations always ended the same way. Her mother would launch an attack, and Melanie would defend her choices. Oliver was one of the wealthiest men in town and had long been interested in mingling with the daughter of the beauty salon's director. He often complimented Mary and her daughters during his visits. One day, he even asked Mary to introduce him to her beautiful daughter. Mary immediately envisioned a lavish wedding, a country home, and vacations in the Maldives. A winning son-in-law like Oliver would be a dream come true. But Melanie quickly shattered that dream, declaring, I'm not interested in meeting anyone. I have a boyfriend. What boyfriend? Mary questioned, taken aback. That moment marked the beginning of a series of tensions and disputes. Her mother had already disliked Dan without ever having met him, and began plotting how to steer her daughter toward marrying rich Oliver. Inspiration struck unexpectedly when a loved one of the salon employees fell ill, requiring costly treatment abroad that was out of reach. Oh, if only I were married to a millionaire, I could help my uncle in no time. Why is my husband just a driver and not a businessman? Mused manicurist Sarah. Mary couldn't help but smile. The girls had accidentally given her an idea. Mary frequently told her daughter that everyone was eager for her happiness, but Melanie had no clue just how far her mother was willing to go to ensure it. During her lunch break, Mary reached out to her childhood friend Patricia, who worked as a therapist at a city hospital. Hey, Patricia, how are you? She asked. Hi, Mary. Great to hear from you, Patricia replied. I need your help. Can you tell me about some serious, expensive medical diagnosis? Why do you need that? Patricia questioned, clearly puzzled. Just trust me on this, and I'll explain later. After their conversation, Mary sprang into action. Traditionally, she and her daughter always shared dinner together. No matter the circumstances, mealtime was sacred. But now, she stopped at a restaurant for dinner before heading home, where she set the table without eating. Mom, why aren't you eating? Melanie asked, noticing her mother's unusual behavior. I just don't have an appetite, Mary sighed, trying to look pained. This went on for weeks, causing Melanie to grow increasingly concerned. Mom, did you even eat anything today? I'm not sure. I think I had a bite. Don't worry about me. If you want, I can write you a poem, Mary suggested, standing up to refill her water glass, only to suddenly faint. Such scenes became regular occurrences. Either she would massage her temples or collapse, claiming to have no appetite at all. Mom, you should see a doctor, Melanie insisted, but Mary dismissed her concerns. Eventually, in a moment of vulnerability, Mary broke down in tears and admitted she was aware of her diagnosis and that it was serious. Melanie nearly fainted herself upon hearing the news, but her mother reassured her that treatment was possible if only they had the money. Desperate to help her mother, Melanie became consumed with worry, losing sleep and feeling hopeless. Over time, she felt exhausted from searching for a solution. One day, she approached her mother, who was lying in bed, curled up and moaning. Mom, remember how you wanted to introduce me to Oliver? I'm ready to meet him. You didn't want to before, Mary murmured weakly. I thought you had someone special. I don't. I really want to meet Oliver, Melanie insisted, feeling resolved to move past Dan. Mary was elated. Glimpses of luxurious vacations, yachts, and a beautiful wedding danced in her mind. Although she wanted to leap out of bed, she instead relied on her daughter for support, pretending to struggle for breath as she turned her head. The wedding between Oliver and 20-year-old Melanie became one of the most lavish events the city had ever seen. Oliver, a decent man, respected Melanie's autonomy, always encouraging her to pursue the relationship on her terms. As a devoted husband, he showered her with lavish gifts and planned romantic getaways, driving her to university every day and taking her to dinner afterward. One day, as they were seated in a cozy corner of the restaurant, Melanie froze. Her mother was sitting just a few meters away, happily indulging in her favorite meal. Mary savored fish solienka and held a pie in her hand while eyeing her beloved dishes, a rabbit in sour cream and fresh vegetable salad, on the table. The moment their eyes met, Mary froze, caught mid-bite. Melanie whispered something to Oliver, and they began to exit. Mary felt paralyzed. Despite her plans to reach out to her daughter the night before, no one answered, and Melanie wasn't checking her messages either. Overwhelmed with anxiety, Mary knocked multiple times at Oliver's gates, but the guard repeatedly informed her that no one was home. The fear crept in. Would her daughter ever speak to her again? The two remained estranged for quite a while, only reconciling when Melanie gave birth to a son. With her grandson in her arms, Melanie softened, forgiving her mother and rebuilding their bond. As Mary observed, Melanie's love for Oliver grew genuine, not because of her own influence, but through Oliver's authentic support and kindness. Melanie never fully grasped her mother's motivations. How could someone betray a friend's daughter like that? Despite the love and strength Melanie shared with her husband, she couldn't shake the thought that things could have been different.